What up, it's your boy Nick Incredible Man. Yes, I am back at it again, and this is 911 Lone Star Season 2, Episode 7 review. And I gotta say, this episode felt like it went by super fast. But there were some nice moments, and some pretty shocking ones too. Let's get it, man. Yet again, this was another wonderful episode of 911 Lone Star, and I gotta say, it felt good to just dive straight into it, and we see TK in full effect as a paramedic. It was a nice thing to see TK in the full swing. Like, we didn't have to worry about, because we knew that he transitioned last week, but this week we just dove straight into him being a paramedic and seeing everything and see how he handles with Captain Vega. And I'm gonna be 100% that it was shocking to have that body just drop on that casket for the opening scene in the very first case of this episode. So, that was just weird in its own right. But to see TK in the full effect of things, and we just dove right into it, was a nice change of pace. But what I mean by this episode feeling like it just went by super fast, it felt like we touched everything, and then it was like boom, bam, and like right when the episode was starting to get like real good and juicy, and we were getting to the meat and potatoes of this episode, it ended. I'm like, what? Man, like right when everything starts happening, that's when it ends. So a lot of the things we're dealing with this episode, we're dealing with Captain Vega feeling a little pressured because her girls don't want to depend on her as much anymore because she's not a stay-at-home mom anymore. She's out working, and they know this, so they're deciding to kind of become a little independent and then leaning towards more of their father. And she's not really feeling, I don't want to say jealous, but a little upset and hurt because when she was a stay-at-home mom, she was the one that they would run to and seek help for. And they're not doing that as much because they know that she's working and she just wants them to. That's all she really wants. And we see that kind of transition at very early on in the episode when she's trying to get her daughter to practice her Taekwondo for her upcoming black belt test. And she woke her up extra early to practice and everything, and the daughter just wasn't feeling it. Mom, I know you got stuff to do. Can I please go back to sleep? Can I get breakfast or something? She wasn't having it. But she feels kind of excluded from things, but what she fails to realize is her family knows that she's busy and they just want to have her back. But coming from her perspective, I can see how she kind of just wants to be involved in her daughter's lives, and she can't be because of work. We also see Nancy this episode get a little bit more spotlight than we normally get from Nancy. We normally see Nancy here and there, and like she said this episode, the firefighters are the cool kids, which was crazy. Like, I didn't see it at first, but now thinking back on season 1 and the earlier parts of this season, Nancy was spot on. Like, she was spot on, and I didn't see it at first, but now that I think about it, she was dead on, man. And she felt a little excluded. But this episode, we see Nancy in the full effect as a character on the show, and for emotional reasons, I guess you could say. And we see that her and TK are also kind of butting heads a little bit because TK seemed to have gained Captain Vega's favor a little bit by doing some extra stuff, taking the initiative on some things. And Nancy being hurt, she's kind of pushed back to the sidelines a little bit. But now she's back and she sees that TK's pretty much taken over. He's changed some stuff on the ambulance and everything. So she's like, well, what is going on? She feels excluded. And that seemed to kind of really be the trend for this episode a little bit because we had TK feeling that, not TK, Nancy feeling that way against TK, and Captain Vega feeling that way against her husband, and I guess you could say her daughters. And when Nancy kind of put that out there, TK kind of took it to heart because he felt like, have we been doing that? And that was the thing. Like, I didn't realize that they had until it was kind of pointed out to me, and that's sad, man. But it being pointed out, TK realized that he could rectify this, and by doing so, I feel like they're definitely going to include Nancy in more stuff as we go forward. But this episode, he reached out and got the firefighters, and they dedicated the ambulance to Tim, and they put his name on it and the date for his last call, and they got Nancy to be a part of that whole little moment. And that kind of just opened everything up, if you will. It made Nancy feel a part of the team finally, and it made the team feel like they didn't exclude Nancy anymore. And I honestly didn't pay attention to that, man. But like when Nancy made it known, it had me thinking. I was like, the entire time watching this episode, I was like, Dude, now that I think about it, that's true, man. Like they really did do that, not intentionally, by the way. It's just something that was done, and now I feel like now moving forward, they're going to be more open and they're going to reach out and enjoy each other's company with Nancy and TK. Now that TK is actually a part of the paramedics. Now let's talk about like the good stuff, and this is with Owen and Gwen. Now the episode started with them unpacking a whole bunch of stuff that Gwen had brought from New York, and I was gonna be 100%. I was starting to like Gwen, like all the previous episodes, and up to this point, I was starting to like Gwen as a character, and I can kind of see why they kind of maybe probably got divorced a little bit, because Gwen is demanding. She kind of is either her way or the highway. And don't get me wrong, Owen has his faults as well, but it feels like Owen gave up so much more for Gwen. And I know that she's pregnant and he asked her to stay down there and put her life on hold and start a relationship, and then they end up getting pregnant. And I know that he kind of initiated a bunch of this, but it feels like all he's doing is giving. This is just my perspective. He's giving, and Gwen is not really mindful of any of that. She doesn't like really seem to care. It's like either it's her way or maybe some semi-compromise. And then once things start to go on their way a little bit, and I was a little fudged at the way that she was acting towards him this episode about all of these other appliances and stuff. But I got over it. And then you sit here and tell me that there's a possibility that the baby isn't Owen's because you slept with your ex after Owen that you had been together with for 15 years. Valid. That's cool. That's cool because you guys had a relationship. That's fine. But you slept with him that one time, like right before you and Owen, like no, in the I want to say it was in the middle of her and Owen being together, or no, right before her and Owen got together for the pandemic. No, was it during the pandemic? Either way, it was somewhere in between there. And the baby, like it was brought up and they really wasn't sure, so they had to get DNA to find out. And Owen was looking at it like he was a little perplexed, and he even talked to Judd about the whole situation and everything about him giving in. And Judd made a very valid point. Gwen brings a smile to your face, but Owen is a little perplexed as to what's going on because he never liked this Enzo character, and just hearing him talk about him, yeah, he seems like horrible. But they get to the point to where they have to test the DNA on the baby against Owens to see if he's actually the father. Now, in that whole moment, Gwen seems like she's at the point to where like, well, okay, well, if you're the father, things will go great. But if not, I don't know. She never said that, but it just felt like that. And lo and behold, when the test results come back, before they come back, Owen just puts out a statement that was like, well, whether the baby's mine or not, I'm willing to be with you regardless and take care of it. He even asked her to delete the email before she saw it. But she didn't want to do that. She wanted to go into this relationship with her eyes wide open. And that's cool. That's very fine because, they had I don't want to say secrets, but like they kind of closed off to each other the very first time they were together. So this time she kind of wanted to be open, and that's totally fine. Owen wanted to be open. Gwen wanted to be open. So that's cool. But you get these test results back and you find out that the baby's Enzo's, and you want to break it off with Owen. Owen was still willing to be with her regardless whether the baby was Enzo's or not. And in that moment, she was like, no, I got to go get a hotel. Now, I think we both need some time away from each other. Yeah, man, I see why Owen left Gwen, or however it played out. I see why they weren't together, man, because Gwen is on some other stuff. Now, if you feel completely different, please comment down below and let me know how you feel about the whole Gwen and Owen relationship. I feel like it was okay, and I even started to like Gwen as a character, but now it feels like it's either her way or no way. I feel like Owen is the one that gave up way more in this relationship and ended up getting hurt the most, and she's just gonna go on with her life. I that may not be the case, but it's just in this moment, in this entire episode, she just annoyed me the most, and I don't even like her anymore. But overall, it was a nice episode. It was great to see some of the stuff. There was a little comedy in there, but it just felt like it ended way too fast, man. This your boy, Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.